So it was just a few days or so before Thanksgiving, and I got this text on my phone, and I've been getting these texts and emails from this company called Fright Rags. Now, I bought a few t-shirts that I've shown on this show a few times, but it's kind of annoying, and they're sending me this text, and somebody was like, why don't you just hit stop to the text? And I was like, all right, I'm going to hit stop to this thing and put a stop to it. So I'm going to open my phone, I'm going to hit, type in stop, no more friggin' text, and then I'm like, look at it, and I'm like, Not the Living Dead t-shirt, new design, and I was like, wait a minute, let's take a look at this thing. So I clicked on it, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then it had like a deal, it's like some kind of Black Friday special. And as you can see, I ended up buying the shirt. So their persistent text ended up working. They got me pretty good. But let's take a look at this design real quick here. Now this is pretty cool. Now take a look at that thing. So they got me, but I do like the t-shirt. I'm not sure how often I'll wear it, but it's pretty cool. I do like the blue design and all that. Anyway, hi, I'm Dave Watkins, Watkins Films, and today we're going to take a look at a new Scream Factory 4K UHD release of the 1987 psychological horror film, The Stepfather, starring Terry O'Quinn. Now, I remember seeing this back, it's rated R, and I remember seeing it before I was of the age to watch a rated R movie, and I was like, really anything that was rated R at that point was like, this thing is freaking good, it's cool, but this film does have some slasher mentality to it. Even though it's not really a slasher film, it's more of a psychological thriller. And we're going to talk more about the plot here in just a bit. But I remember even at the time when I saw it, thinking that Terry O'Quinn's performance was fantastic. And I remembered him really well. And it's Terry O'Quinn, he played a really prominent character on the show Lost. And I remember I knew him I remembered him from The Stepfather. Not that I know him, but when I saw Lost and he appeared in the first episode, I was like, "Well, Terry O'Quinn's in this." I remembered him from The Stepfather, and of course, any other movie after this, I recognized him just from his performance in this film. It really stood out to me. It's a very menacing performance, and of course, it was one of the earlier kind of rated R films that I had watched. Now, this is a new Scream Factory 4K UHD release with a slipcover. Now, this one doesn't have, as far as I could tell on their site, they never had a poster, so I didn't order this directly from their site. I think I got it from Target. They had like a buy two get one free, and I got it as part of that. But I'm going to put a link here in the description below where you can purchase this through Amazon through an affiliate link, and I might get a bit of a kickback from it, maybe. So The Stepfather, and also I should say about The Stepfather as well, there's a sequel to it. I did see the first sequel, and it has Terry O'Quinn returns as the Stepfather, even though he, spoiler, he seems to have died at the end of this film, but he somehow miraculously doesn't die, but he comes back in the second one, and it had Jonathan Brandis actually was in the second one as well. He plays his new stepson. But they ended up, even after that, making a third one. But this one didn't have Terry O'Quinn in it. They had a different actor playing the Stepfather. And even, I think, in 2009, they did a remake with Dylan Walsh as the Stepfather. It's a remake of the original film. And even has Amber Heard in it in a supporting role. But the Stepfather, so here's what's going on in this film. It starts out, he's at this house, kind of, at first he has a kind of a beard. I guess it looks a little bit like mine. He doesn't necessarily look that much like Terry O'Quinn at that point. But then he shaves, and then he goes to leave the house, and there's all these dead people all over the house. This dead family, women mostly. Just he just massacred this family. And then he whistles and leaves and goes away, and he basically takes on a new identity. Later on, some of this information is revealed. One of the mother of this group, her brother is kind of trying to track him down. Now, he's done this before too. He's a serial killer, but apparently here's his MO. He basically gets a new job. He gets his family, and then he's really obsessed with the whole idea of the family, and he's very hard to deal with because he gets this new family. He kind of gets a new he targets like a single mom, and then he moves in, and then he becomes very obsessive with the kids, wants them to call him dad and all that. And when they end up rejecting him, which happens because he's such a nutcase, they reject him, and then he loses his shit, and then he kills everybody. And then, but before he does this, he starts to already know that it's not working, and at that point, he quits his job and starts a new job. And all this information is revealed through the brother talking to a reporter about the whole case, and he's he also talks to some cops about it as well. But anyway, so he gets a new job, and he starts targeting a new life and a new family in a disguise. Now we hear all this. And then as we're hearing about it, we're seeing him kind of start to do these things with this new family. Now, the new family is a mother and daughter only. Now, the mother is played by Shelley Hack. Shelley Hack was the fifth Charlie's Angels angel on the television show during the fourth season only. And the daughter is played by Jill Sholin, who is considered a scream queen. She was in a lot of different horror movies around this same time period, including Popcorn, and also the Phantom of the Opera film with Robert Englund in it. Now, she played the protagonist in both of those horror films, and she was in a few other films as well, mostly around that same time period. But she's very likable in this film, and the mother's very likable. Now, both characters have good chemistry together, and you're kind of rooting for them to survive this encounter, and you know this guy's dangerous. Now, the daughter doesn't like him very much. He thinks he's kind of an oddball, that he wants her to call him dad, and the dad died recently, so she doesn't like him that much. She tries to get along with him, and then she becomes kind of suspicious of him. She starts seeing him do weird things, and she's going to like a psychiatrist or psychologist, and she's telling him about all this. And at some point, the psychologist wants to go and check him out because he tries to get in touch with him, and once he starts trying to get in touch with him, the stepfather, played by Terry O'Quinn, doesn't want anything to do with any of that, and he starts acting more and more erratic. And the daughter eventually starts trying to push him over the edge. That she doesn't realize how dangerous he is and the dangerous game that she's playing. But it's I remember the ending of this film. I'm not going to talk about the ending. I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens, but I remember it very well. It was one of those things, I think, from watching it, that the ending is fairly, I mean, it's not necessarily violent, but I did remember it just because of the escalation of the violence throughout the film, and then the ending when he really loses his cool. There's a line here on the front. Now, I am gonna spoil this a little bit, but this is like where it says, "Who am I here?" when he's looking in the mirror, and there's an awesome scene in the film where he accidentally says his name wrong. And then the person's like, what do you mean? Who's that name? And he's like, wait a minute, who am I here? Trying to remember what his name was, because he's had so many different identities. He's kind of, for a moment, and he's gotten real emotional during this time period because he's close to breaking and snapping. He's losing that peaceful dad like thing. What he really wants, he wants this peaceful family. But the way he's such a control freak, he comes into a new family that he's trying to just be their dad, and he expects things. He's hoping things were going to go perfectly. I'm not sure what would happen in a situation if it actually did go perfectly. Would he still kill him anyway? Maybe not. But I don't think that he would ever be in a situation where it would work. But just because of his controlling personality and the way that the people that he moves in with are, at least in this film and the second one that I saw, they're fairly resilient, and they're pushed back against his controlling obsessions. And really, it's quite a frightening scenario. Terry O'Quinn's terrifying in this. I think this may have made several people really afraid to have a stepfather who might do something crazy like that. Let's take a look at this. Here's the slipcover, and here's the cover here. So it's both the same. On the inside of it, we have two discs. We have a 4K and a Blu-ray. This is one of his disguises that he wears briefly in the film. Such a great performance by Terry O'Quinn, and there's not a reversible. It's just white on the back, so you just have this one cover here, which is effective. I like that fine. So let's take a quick read of the transfer here. Try not to bore you with it too much. So this is a new 2024 4K restoration presented in Dolby Vision. And that's for the 4K, and they got a 4K restoration on the Blu-ray as well. So it's really the same transfer. It's just a lower resolution because it's on the Blu-ray. As far as that transfer, I think it looks really good. It's just a transfer from the 35 millimeter film. Obviously, this film was shot in film, right? So, but it looks very film-like. It does have some grain, some heavy grain in some areas. Not that it's horrible. I do like there's a fall leaves about, so they must have shot this in the fall. There's leaves all over the trees, and the beginning of it takes place a year before the new family part. So in both situations, I guess it's both fall. So it has a very nice fall look to it throughout, and very like the warm kind of textures, because you kind of have that kind of fall kind of feeling throughout. I think the 4K really brings the resolution up here, and you see a lot more detail on the faces, and really for the most part everything looks pretty sharp in this film. I was pretty happy with the transfer. I thought it looked pretty great. So let's go ahead and rate the film. Now I'm going to rate this film. I'm going to give the film a 4. I really liked the film. I thought it was very well done, really anchored by Terry O'Quinn's performance. It's a very chilling performance, and I've seen this film. Maybe it may be kind of like a Psycho type of film where you had a lot of those starting with Psycho, and then you just kind of. But this one is from the 80s. I like the 80s feel to it, and the family man thing that Terry O'Quinn comes in, and he right away from the beginning, he is this killer. But then you're seeing him go through the motions of this, and you may think that might be tedious, but it actually works very well, and it's very suspenseful throughout. I'm going to give the Scream Factory's work here. I'm going to give them maybe a 3.5, maybe 4. But I think for this movie they did right by it. They did what they should have done. Anyway, if you've seen this before, let me know what you think. If you haven't done so already, if you go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm Dave Watkins. Thanks for watching.